I'm excited to have with me today Canadian TV and radio personality Candace Sampson. She's a lifestyle and travel writer for Life in Pleasantville. She's also the owner and host of What She Said Talk, which is a popular show. And I want to welcome you today to talk about your show, but also about protecting your health while going through separation and a divorce. And I'm so excited to have you with me today, Candace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, so tell us about your podcast. Like it's on radio. It's airing on 105.9 the region and Pulse FM and Spotify all over. So
I'm everywhere. But for most people who don't live in the regions that it airs on the radio, you can catch it on podcast every week. I put it up after it airs on the radio. So it's always there to listen to. And it's a very women-centric, feminist-leaning podcast that covers just about every topic, but always through a woman's perspective. So it's my little happy place.
Yes, and it's such a great show. I mean, you cover hot topics like, clearing clutter. You have clutter in the house, how to declutter. In other words, you've got mental health, fitness, and you've had guests like Erica M on your show.
Yeah, and actually I had the first man in 2022 to make an appearance was Brian Baumler, and I was happy to give him a spot because he was speaking about men's mental health. And I mean, I don't feature men a lot on my show because I feel that women need a place to have their voices amplified. But I think it's important to know that our counterparts, our partners, the men in our life that we love, they need good mental health as well. So I was happy to give him that spot around Father's Day. So that was kind of fun.
Yes, you have a great vehicle, a great platform, many platforms. And so the title, What She Said Talk, how did you come up with it?
Well, it actually wasn't mine. I wish I could say it was mine, but I was the travel expert for 3 years on What She Said. And Kate Wheeler and Christine Bentley were the owners, and they wanted to get out of it and retire, as one does. We want to move on to a bit other things. And they asked me if I was interested in buying it. I said yes, but I was going through a very contentious divorce at the time, and I couldn't just, give a lump sum. So Kate and Christine were kind enough to allow me to give monthly payments. And then the pandemic hit, worst timing ever. And in one of these lovely stories that I like to share about the power of community and the power of, aligning with strong, powerful women, Kate Wheeler called me up sort of halfway through my payments and said, we're done. We're done. You don't have to pay me anymore. And I broke down crying on the phone because she knew how much pressure I was under financially from my divorce, and obviously with the pandemic and sponsorship dollars drying up. And it was just such a wonderful, kind thing to do. So anyway, that's how I ended up with What She Said. And it's a very near and dear to my heart to own the show and to amplify women's voices across Canada. That's all I'm sort of here for.
Yes. And is it weekly?
It's a weekly show. It's a lot of work. I find all the guests, I get everything set up, write all the introductions, get all the social media out. It's a big job. But my goal is to grow it coast to coast, and we'll see where it goes. I'm determined.
Yes. Congratulations. And
thank you.
I want to talk to you about how to protect your health while going through divorce and separation. Can you tell the viewers and the listeners your experience rather in tips? And yeah, I would just like you to, because I don't know, it must be, so difficult. I can't even imagine. So please tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I think divorce is, physiologically one of the most stressful times a woman can go through. I had a woman on my show who did a documentary recently about called Broken Vows, Breaking the Silence, and Sunny, and she talked about that. And it's true, divorce is very stressful, and it takes a lot out of you. And I think that when you're first going into it, there's a number of steps you should take to protect your mental health right out of the gate. Because even if it starts out amicable, it doesn't always end that way. So it's a really good idea to just protect your physical and mental health right away. And I think before anybody should even go to a lawyer, the very first thing you should do is get a therapist. And I recommend that for everybody.
Yes, because it can really be the mediator or just someone to listen to, right? That can guide you. And like,
yeah, and oftentimes we get a lawyer and we think, oh, they're our best friends until you get your first bill and you realize they're charging you for every venting session you may have with them. And they're not really going to help you with coping skills. They're just going to charge you for the vent session. So I would say get a lawyer first. It's one of the things that I was very clear on. And then another thing that I fell into fairly early on in the process was meditation and mindfulness, and just being able to pull myself into the moment, because the anxiety and the stress of the divorce process, especially if it's contentious in any way, that anxiety can get away from you and you can get pulled into the past or the future, depending on what you're worrying about. And that doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your kids. And so, certainly learning to practice being in the moment, calming yourself down, all of those are, because you'll want to be in fight or flight through the divorce process, and you just need to be able to stay calm and center yourself. Now, I don't always succeed, but it's something that it's worth practicing, and you do get better at it.
yes. And, Candace, what did you notice the first that, stress? Were you noticing like you felt very weak? You felt tired? Did you feel, because you're a mother too, like when did you notice like it was really, really getting worse with your health?
Well, this process for me has been 4 years. I mean, I'm officially divorced as of a couple of months ago, but it doesn't mean the process is over. There's still so much to go through with my particular case. And so the stress piles on, and as it does for everybody. And we're living in a world where stress is thrown at us all the time. We're still dealing with this pandemic. The economic uncertainty is crazy. Climate change. I mean, you could literally just run a laundry list of daily stressors, and then you throw in, personal stressors, and it's a lot. And so, I'm always trying to find ways. I've read every self-help book. I've worked at meditation. I've talked to a therapist. I have all kinds of little tricks and tips that I try to use. It doesn't mean I'm immune. And one of the most scary things for me was when the height of the stress was hitting in November of 2020. I started to have really extreme pain in my shoulder and across my chest and back. And it was just where all the stress was living. And I remember I was driving in the car with my boyfriend and my daughter, and I just broke down crying in the car because I was in so much pain. I couldn't catch my breath. And it seemed I just couldn't get ahead of that pain. And so that has been, I'm pain-free right now as we're sitting here talking, but that's been a very concerted effort that I've had to put into stretching, making sure I'm taking anti-inflammatory supplements to keep the inflammation down in my body, because the connection between mind and body is huge. It's proven, the science is there. So what you're mentally taking on, you are physically manifesting in your body in some way, shape, or form. So it's very important to just be aware of that, because the goal is to live beyond this experience and to remember this is a chapter, and it might be a very crappy chapter, but it's just a chapter. It's not the whole story. And you want to be healthy and strong when you get past it. So I just think that's the key, is just to always be aware of that mind body connection and try your very best to stay healthy, because your kids want you here, your friends want you here. There's lots in life that's still good, even though it might seem not so during the process. You will move on beyond that.
Yes, and there's help out there, and it's okay to be vulnerable. Reach out, get a therapist as you suggested. Also, too, your financial health, you could be in debt and you're like, oh my goodness, you have that on top of everything else. And so reaching out to maybe a financial health expert, perhaps.
I would say absolutely. If I could go back, as a matter of fact, I would have made a lot of different decisions in regards to financial stability. I should have listened to my gut more on things, but I didn't, and so I paid the price, obviously. And to be fair, I didn't anticipate that my ex would be try to be so punitive in his actions. But he was. And, I recently just added up what it's cost me in lawyers' fees just a couple of days ago, because it was so depressing to think about what I had spent in lawyers' fees over the last 4 years. But I'm up and around almost $60,000. And that's what it costs to get a divorce from somebody who will not participate in the process. That's a very expensive price tag. And it also says something to the family court system that sort of allows this to happen.
Yes. And, too, is like, whether it's a separation or divorce, just talk to others too. It may not be a therapist right away, but talk to your friends, reach out. There's a network. There is help out there. It's just reaching out. And like right now, you're divorced, right? And you feel like it's such a great feeling. So, and having that balanced lifestyle. So what are you doing now, Candace, for a healthier lifestyle? Are you working? Are you running? Are you doing meditation still? I know we talked. I was on your show. We talked about my running, but I was curious to know if.
Well, to be honest, I sort of backed off of running a little bit, which was the wrong thing to do. But I feel stronger now. I feel like I've started to heal a little bit. So I'm going to start pushing back towards running and just doing a very gentle couch to 5K. No pressure to achieve any massive goals. Running is you and you. It's not you and the world. And that's the beauty of running. But otherwise, as far as my health goes, again, it's just meditation, stretching. We have weights that we work on. My boyfriend is a naturopathic doctor, so he's very into health. So we talk a lot about, diet. We've cut back on meat consumption, things like that. At the end of the day, I think you just have to remember that you want to be a whole person when all of this is over, in every sense of the word. And, to just find the strength to get through it with your health intact. It's just, again, I can't emphasize this enough. And when you said to find, people, one of the very first things I did, and I wrote about this on Life in Pleasantville, I have this article, coping strategies for the first 90 days after a separation. And one of the first things I did was reach out to the divorcees I knew. Women on Facebook, I messaged them all within probably about a week and just said, give me your advice, because I don't know what to do here. I'm floundering. And, whether you take it with a grain of salt or not, or you take it to heart, it really is up to you what advice you're going to take. But I mean, by all means, typically divorced women are willing to give you free advice and to, help you out. They don't want to see a sister drown. And so reach out to them, ask them what they did, and get as many tips as you can. There are support groups. I didn't find them incredibly helpful, only because they become a little bit of an echo chamber. But, we all have friends who've been through this. So reach out to them, ask them what they did, and, just immerse yourself in that as much as you can to get the help you need to get through it.
It's wonderful. And Candace, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, gosh. I think, honestly, like there's this expression that you should teach from your scars and not your wounds. And unfortunately, I'm still super wounded here. I'm starting to heal, but I'm still wounded from this whole process. So I'm not always the best to ask for advice, but I would just say, just be very clear on what your end goal is. And your end goal is, as I keep saying, is just you want to get past this healthy. That's all.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to go to your podcast, listen to it, where can people go?
Well, you can search What She Said Talk with Candace Sampson on all the podcast providers, Spotify, Apple, it's all there. WhatSheSaidTalk.com is the website. Lifeinpleasantville.com is my other website. And I'm all over social media. If you Google Candace Sampson, there's about 6 or 7 social platforms that I'm on. So.
Good to talk to you, and I'd like to have you come back. And
thank you.
All the best. Thank you.